Good day, I am Malia Peñaloza and today I am here to present my final paper on extrajudicial killings under Duterte's war on drugs through virtue ethics. The prevalence of drug use is one of the country's most urgent issues today, and the Duterte administration has made it a top priority government agenda for the administration. Last 2021, Gustavo Gonzalez from the UN shared that the prevalence of drug use in the country is 2.05% or 1.7 million Filipinos. He also notes that drug use is heavily intertwined with the factors of poverty, inequalities, poor access to healthcare, and systematic problems in governance. Moving forward to the drug war in the Philippines, the Duterte administration launched the war on drugs back in 2016 when he served as the president. Under his regime, the order to kill anyone believed to be connected to the illegal drug trade was issued, effectively denying the right to life and justice, which is a basic human right all humans hold. Statistics show that around 12,000 Filipinos have been killed, most of them coming from the urban poor, according to Human Rights Watch 2017. It is clear that amidst the numbers, the Duterte administration has no regard for human life and continues to stand by their belief that the killings are moral in the sense that the targets are properly identified and thereby reducing the drug rates in the country. EJK is when the death of a person is permitted without an official ruling from a judicial proceeding. Not only is the problem the disregard for the human right to life and equality, but the very fact that those being killed are not at all involved in a drug war by any means. From a campaign that was meant to curb drug use, how has this come to affect even those who are far from it? And it begs us to question as to what is the true nature of this policy. The fact that no judicial proceeding takes place can tell that not all facts are considered nor verified, and the decision as to whether or not one is guilty are solely dependent on subjective thoughts and assumptions. The question then forces us to ask whether or not human lives are subjective and worthy to be judged as a spur of the moment decision. What makes these judges in any way capable or worthy of executing such an action that ends the life of another? Is there a criteria or is anyone bearing the seal of the Philippine police immediately qualified? More so, how are suspects judged? Are there certain things that they say or do that make them guilty, or has a sentence to death been issued since the beginning when the police have laid hands on an individual? As mentioned, some of the victims of this drug war have been none but unfortunate individuals who found themselves at the wrong place and at the wrong time to be deemed a suspect by police officials. The first ever case to cause national outrage is that of Kian Lloyd de los Santos, a 17-year-old student suspected to be a drug runner. A year after he was shot, the police were found guilty of murdering him and are each sentenced to 40 years in prison, according to BBC News 2018. EJK's then is an erroneous solution towards the problem of the drug war, as the lack of a legal basis disregards the right to human life with its merciless killings, it itself a failure of question of morality. There are two sides to the situation. EJKs can be thought of as moral due to the fact that it is able to stop an individual who was thought of to be high risk and can potentially endanger the lives of many, or that it is immoral in the sense that everyone, no matter how evil, should be able to defend themselves before the court and is innocent until proven otherwise. In Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle places great emphasis on virtue or on the nature of the man doing the action. It is a type of deontological ethics where morality is situated not on the ends but rather the means of the act. It postulates that for something to be good or noble, the one doing the act himself must possess the right virtues, disposition, or character, as from this stems good actions and therefore good results. The moral virtue is a state of character in between deficiency and excess that makes act a certain way in the right manner and involves choice and responsibility. For an action to be voluntary or involuntary depends on the moment of action. The desire to kill is a voluntary action, more so when we consider it in the circumstance that the suspects are fighting for their lives as a gun is cocked in front of their faces. One chooses to fight for his life relentlessly, and the other decides whether or not one is worthy to live. He is aware of the power he holds with a gun in his hand and knows what proceeds after the action. Choice involves reason and thought. The object of choice is a result of deliberation, and as a gun is placed, the police in question has a choice, a rational thinking, on whether or not to continue through with his intended plan. In a psychotic sense, the thrill of killing can be the energy that brings pleasure to one. Killing another is an act of power, as if one is a god who performs judgment on another, and this action is a choice. When one pulls a trigger, he takes full responsibility of the fact that he has taken another one's life in a battle of choice and is answerable to the family of the victim. Yet the reality we see is otherwise. Police officers cower behind the president who has made himself responsible, because who can or will harm him when he is so outspoken about these killings and his own act of doing the same? Responsibility takes on a different turn, reimagined to fit the notions of those in power. The golden mean is the middle between two extremes. Take, for example, courage as the mean, with its two ends being rashness, where one goes on to do anything and whatever, and the other cowardice, where one is in constant fear and does not end up doing anything. The golden mean of action is not a fixed point, but rather varies from person to person. This way, an action that is right is not simply right because one thinks it is right, but rather that it should be rational. It is important to understand and be in contact with one's inner being that is able to say more about these things, ultimately contributing to the personality and virtues of one. Given the three perspectives in which we evaluate an action, EJKs are obviously immoral, yet one always has a choice. The mere act of taking another's life without regards for their rights is questionable beyond means. In virtue ethics, a good person is believed to do good things because he is inherently good, and this belief then raises questionable doubts about the nature of the police officers in question. Are they virtuously good to enact judgment when the act itself is bad? In the first place, would this be something that they partake in if they were good? More so, when we consider the victim in question, if they were bad, would they not have succumbed to the truths in the face of imminent death or danger? Virtues must be trained on and practiced upon, and these constant jabs at it further dislocate the mean to a point towards the extremes of the opposite of the good. Taking on another stance of consequentialist ethics, where the end or consequence is looked at, EJKs are immoral because according to utilitarianism, the results are nowhere near good nor brings happiness to the greatest number of people. Safety is unassured when anyone can drop dead at any moment. Does the end justify the means? In the data that showed post-drug war, many lives have been lost, yet the drug issue is still a pressing problem that the country faces today, passed on to the next president to solve. Many articles online call for solving the issue in a different light, instead of continuously promoting the narrative that it is wrong, bad, and immoral. It is inherent to address the very root causes of these actions. Why do people do drugs and how can we curb its use? With better understanding of the human person and its motivation and desires, we are able to craft programs that target the problem at hand. So, in conclusion, drug use and addiction is a problem many countries face today, and the Philippines' approach to solving this is through violence, launching a war on drugs that promotes EJKs. When the lives of many are at stake without any due process or respect for the rights to life and justice, how is one able to fully ensure the morality of the law? What makes one qualified to rule judgment over another's life? As we explore Aristotle's virtue ethics in the sense of voluntary action, choice, and responsibility, we are further faced with the tremendous power we hold with our decisions, that ultimately trust we do the right thing because we are good people. The question then is, are we really? Looking further, when the deontological is combined with the consequentialist, we see that regardless of emotion or desire, the action we take must be right, not just for one as a person, but for one's humanity. The collective action to do what is moral and what is good is what will uplift society. Further studies can be made with reference to Aristotle's first and second books on the Nicomachean Ethics. Moreover, additional studies can be made considering more of the deontological view, which posits the claims on the end rather than the means. Recommendations of the United Nations and other human rights groups can be explored especially in terms of a social or health-oriented approach to solving the problem. Thank you for listening, and here are my references.